Hello, and a pleasant Monday to you, wherever you may be. This is Jonathan Duvall on the Roku Developer Relations team, and we've got another great webinar for you. Today, we're going to highlight all the new developer features in the Roku OS 13.0 release, which was just announced last week. In just a few minutes, Kevin Phillips, director of our Advanced Tech team, will review all the new SceneGraph and BrightScript APIs, media and content metadata enhancements, and developer tool updates. After Kevin is done, we'll do a live Q&A session where Kevin and I will answer all your questions, which you can submit in Slido. The Slido link for this webinar is go.roku.com Roku-OS-13-webinar-QA. The link to the Slido is in the webinar blog post and in the Zoom chat. Once you ask a question, your fellow attendees will upvote or downvote it, which will help determine whether it gets read on air. Now, please be aware, while we will not comment on our roadmap or make other forward-facing commitments during the Q&A, we always welcome requests and other suggestions around what would make the Roku OS better. If you have to leave early or you want to share this session, we will post a recording of this on the Roku Developers YouTube channel, Roku Developers video portal, and the Roku Developers channel. So, without further ado, let's get started. Kevin Phillips, everyone.
Thank you, Jonathan. It's my privilege today to give you the new features of Roku OS 13.0. And we're going to cover new BrightScript APIs, some changes to content metadata that we passed to the video node, some new tools, and a deprecation change. Starting with the BrightScript APIs, the first one has to do with querying the maximum available memory. So Roku app memory monitor.get channel memory limit will return basically all the limits per device. So on each device, we may have different limits, and the API will return the limits for the device it's run on, and it'll give you the maximum amount of memory in the foreground and the background for that device. The next API is RO App Manager Get Last Exit Info. And this method will return more detail about why the app exited. We've always had the last exit termination reason, which was a basic error code, but now we have an associative array with more detail. So we're going to give you the more detail about why the app exited, because it may have exited due to lack of memory and was killed that way, or even has a BrightScript crash. So there's more detail about those reasons. The next API is RO device info is autoplay enabled. So this is we'll get a system level setting of if the user configured autoplay at a system-wide level. And this is to support a new certification requirement we're going to have in the fall. So we are going to require apps that have autoplay have users opt into that autoplay, either at the app level or at the system level. So this gives apps the ability to obtain the opt-in at the system level. The next new API is for our hands-free remote, and it's the RO remote info has feature, has mute switch. And this is really on these remotes that have a far field mic, the has mute switch enabled feature will mute the far field mic. So it's really contextual and has to do with those specific remotes. Now covering our media and DRM and content metadata. The first change is to the content metadata, where we now have a content classifier field. And the content classifier will help with setting picture quality settings. It'll tune the picture quality based on if it's a movie or animation or sports. There's an enum with a number of values that you can set the content classifier field to, and Roku OS will automatically tune the picture quality. Next, we have the available audio tracks and available subtitle tracks. These are new fields to get more detail about the subtitle and audio tracks on the stream. Now covering some tools, you'll notice the theme of helping apps deal with memory, and we've added some more tooling to help you manage the memory in your application. First, we've added an ECP command, query app object counts, that lets you write scripts to get the object counts over a period of time through ECP. We also have another ECP command called exit-app, and that suspends or terminates a running app, which will help you automate your testing or having different test suites in your lab. Another ECP command is query/channel state, then the channel ID. And this returns the active state of the app. Either it's active or in the background in a suspended mode. We've also added some new features to the Roku Resource Monitor. And again, this is on the theme of helping you better manage the memory usage of your app. So first, we have a time series view of memory usage in the app. And the screenshot here is an example of that time series where you could click on, say, the largest memory use time, and you could get a more detailed count of the actual objects, which is in the next screen, that shows you the number of objects of each type that's allocated. There is one deprecation in 13.0, and that's the ro appinfo.get subtitles. And really, we want you to replace it with the video nodes closed caption fields to get the subtitle track information. And that's a wrap for 13.0 features. Back to you, Jonathan.
Great. Well, hopefully everyone found that useful. We're really excited for the new features in the Roku OS 13.0 release. So at this time, we're going to open things up to Q&A. So Kevin, you can go ahead and turn on your video and make sure your mic is unmuted. So we're going to go through some of the questions that we got through the webinar. So far, we've got one from Brian. So please, guys, go into the Slido and post your questions. The link to the Slido is in the Zoom chat. It's also in the webinar blog post. So please go ahead and fire away. This is a great opportunity to interact with Kevin, who's a wily veteran of these proceedings at Roku. So before we get going, I have to do my standard disclaimer that we won't answer any future-facing features or make any commitments, but we're always welcome to feedback on what will make the firmware better. So all right, so the first question, let me share my screen here and give me 1 second here. We're gonna share the okay. Okay, so hello, Kevin. So our first question comes from Brian. You can now get the total amount of memory available for an application, but it still seems like there isn't a way to know how much memory the application is currently using. Perhaps I'm missing something beyond the enable memory warning event.
So you can query what the application's currently running. The idea is that you would get the warning event, and in response to that, you would call the API to get the current available memory. And I can't remember the exact API name off the top of my head, but we do have one that you can query the amount of memory currently being used.
And Brian, for you, I can go ahead and get you that as well, but there's definitely an API for that. All right, next question from Brian. What is the difference between using the ECP exit command and just using the ECP home button press?
Um, they're functionally almost the same. They both will try to terminate the app. If the app can go into suspend mode, it will go into suspend mode. The ECP command lets you also terminate an app that is in suspend mode. So you can completely make it start from scratch if you use the ECP command without being cached in suspend mode. The other thing is with ECP, right? You're presumably scripting and automating your tests, whereas the home buttons from the remote is just a user interface.
Hmm. Um, that's all the questions we have so far, guys. Please fire away. Um, this is a great opportunity to ask questions to Kevin. So please take advantage of this opportunity. We'll give him another minute or two. Okay, let's see. I have a question from Marco. Are you deprecating the RO app info.get subtitle method? I hope there's no plan for RO video player. If the app is not SceneGraph, how can the developer get the subtitles information for the RO video player?
Yeah, well, so we are deprecating roappinfo.get subtitle, and we do actually have a plan to have RO video player on the deprecation path. So we do want people using the video node. At this point, we don't really see much reason for apps to be using RO video player. And Marcelo, if you want to text me afterwards, I'd like to understand why you are still using RO video player because we think the video node should satisfy all use cases.
Right. Um, for Manny, will the last exit termination be populated even for successful terminations?
It will, yes. So you can create your own analytics and figure out, what percentage are normal exits and what percentage are abnormal or due to memory. That's the idea.
Let's see, we've got from us. Ah, you're still planning to release a API to deploy private beta channels by command line? And that actually is more of a question for our dev portal team. That's Tom Charles. But definitely we are looking a way to scale up our tooling to make managing beta channels and your public channels easier as far as doing your test suites and deployments. So for sure, I will ping Tom to see what the roadmap is, and we can get that to you, Tomas. Kevin, I don't know if you have anything else to add, but I think that's
Yeah, that's the right answer.
Yep. Um, from Liam, does reducing your background memory footprint increase the chance that you will remain in background memory for longer?
It does. In a couple ways. One kind of directly in that we use the size of the footprint in the background as part of the input into kind of our LRU type algorithm for removing apps. We take the size into account as well, so it's not strictly LRU. And then, of course, if there's more memory in general in the system, then more apps can be in the background. So that helps as well, indirectly.
All right. Got a fun one. So any comment on the recent issues with ECP key press calls returning 401 errors once an app is loaded? Multiple reports of devices in the field being broken. This is something I think that's being actively talked about in the forum. I'm not sure this is the right place to be commenting on this. Kevin, do you have anything? Or we can.
Yeah, I would say just in general that ECP is really meant to be for developers, and we plan to continue supporting, automating your apps in the development mode so that you can create your own test suites. we are working on different policies about user use cases for ECP. So
Regarding the get last exit info method, are the last 20 lines of console logs usually enough to get a usable crash message? Or is there a chance that the logs will often be truncated when the remaining info, stack trace variables threads is too long?
well, we did pick 20 lines because we thought that that would get you most BrightScript crash information that you'll need. It's possible that it doesn't in some cases, but that's kind of the trade-off we made as far as size constraints on the device and getting you the most information we could.
Does the use of cache FS count in the background memory total? From Liam.
I am not sure how we calculate that. So I don't know the answer, Liam, but maybe we can get back to you at a later time. Um,
Sure.
Jonathan wanted me to make note of that one. We can get
Yeah,
back
yeah.
to you. Yeah.
It is duly noted. You guys are doing a great job with the questions. So keep them coming. From Brian, can you get the amount of memory an application is using when it is in the background with ECP commands?
Uh, yes, I believe that you can. I think we're going to have to get back to you, Brian, on that one, on how you would do that. I'm not sure what the command is off the top of my head.
Yeah, no, but it's there. It's there. And I'd like to say that was something that was included in 12 or 12.5. Sorry, sometimes the releases just kind of blend together, but
Yeah.
definitely there, for sure. Because one thing to keep in mind, it's something that's tracked in the Roku Resource Monitor, and the Roku Resource Monitor, it uses the same ECP commands that you guys can use to build your own tools. So it's actually funny to see, like, this release had the BrightScript objects memory allocation stuff. Well, we have new commands for that. So it's sort of a symbiotic relationship. Whatever we're consuming the same things, um, our tools are using the same ECP commands that we're making available to you to build your own tools. So uh, let's see. Any other questions? We had this one from Annie. How's your day going? My day is going
Happy
great.
Monday.
It's a wonderful Monday. All is well in the world. Um, Thanks, Manny. That was nice. Let's see what we have. From Liam again. Are crashes captured and reported if those crashes are invoked due to that being shut down slash backgrounded?
Uh, so we do capture crashes and report them. Of course, you can see them in your developer portal. So in your developer portal, we have analytics about crashes that you can look up, kind of after the fact. And with the new error reporting, the app itself can get the last exit information that has some crash info as well, those 20 lines of log. Um, and that allows you to, create your own stats on your side as well.
Okay. Marcelo has a follow-up question on the RO video player. Um, so my question about RO video player was related to apps and games not using SceneGraph that rely on RO video player and RO video player to play media. Any plan to allow Draw 2D capabilities to SceneGraph before deprecating those components?
Yeah, we don't have any plans directly that we can share right now, but it's an area we've looked at. I'll just say that much.
From Luis, do we still need to use the run as process equals one manifest attribute to be able to use the resource monitor in side-loaded builds?
I believe yes. I'm not aware that you don't need to do that anymore, but I don't know the exact answer.
We can double check for you, Luis. Okay, from Brian again. Does get last exit info function get populated even if a device reboot happens with run as process equals 1?
Yes, should be populated in that case as well. There are cases where it will not get populated, right? If for some reason the device crashes and we haven't been able to record the last exit information properly, then you won't get that in those cases. There are some other edge cases where we won't record that information. It has to do with really the number of apps that have crashed recently. And so it's not 100%, but I think it's close enough to that it's useful for you to get valid analytics.
All right, guys, keep them coming. Um, okay, a few more. Are images, when cached on the firmware, kept in the original format?
Um, in most cases, no. We'd like to get rid of them if we don't need them anymore, but we haven't optimized all code paths, so sometimes we do keep the originals around even when they're not needed.
Okay. From Pedro, what are the tools you recommend for investigating timeout issues happening in production? The crashes themselves don't normally match the lines the app crashes on.
Well, I guess just our standard tools. In general, it is going to give you the correct line for why it crashed, but of course, bugs can be tricky in the reason why that line crashed. So your bug may be at a different line, obviously. Um, Roku Resource Monitor is a very good tool. We highly recommend that for debugging your app and, of course, the debugger itself.
Um, from Tomas, the first crash report after a new release deployment is usually available after 3 days. Is it possible to get it earlier? And I thought actually we did announce something a few months ago that explained that the crash logs would be available sooner within um, approximately 24, 24 hours, but I'm not sure if that is applicable to new release deployment, but they're typically now available within 24 hours. Um, I think that's something we announced about 3 months ago.
Right. Well, and you can get it earlier yourself if you provide your own type of reporting, right? With the new getting info, then you'll get the next time that app's launched for the user, it should be able to report the crash info for you. And you can send it directly to your own servers.
All right, Marcelo. So now I'm getting called out here. So could we have better documentation about the exit reason option? Some names are similar and not clear about the real reason. Timeout and resources related in particular. And we know this, and we have a task to um, get this updated as soon as possible. We're working on this. This is in progress, and we should have something out shortly where we enhance the exit reason documentation. So that is definitely in progress. But anytime the docs get called out, it's a happy day for me. So good, bad, or otherwise. So while we wait for any last second questions, anything else that comes in, I want to take this opportunity to we're actually a little bit of an Easter egg as far as what the next webinar is going to be next month. Kevin went through a little bit on the Roku Resource Monitor as far as the new features that like the BrightScript object memory allocation. So next month, around the middle of May, we will have a webinar on the Roku Resource Monitor 3, not only just going over the new features, but also best practices as far as optimizing memory management in your apps. And as far as best practices, what to do, what not to do. So it's going to be, I think it's a really important webinar. I'm really excited about it. The Roku Resource Monitor, the tool itself just keeps getting better and better. We just did the new release last week. So you guys can check that out. Just make sure, obviously, it's compatible with devices running on Roku OS 13.0. But yeah, we're excited that next webinar is on the Roku Resource Monitor, new release, and optimizing memory management. So, um, with that being said, we don't have any other questions. I think we're gonna call it. Um, so once again, I appreciate everyone attending this morning or today. And as a reminder, we're going to share the recording of this video will be on the Roku Developers YouTube channel, the Roku Developers video portal, and our Roku Developers on device channel. So once again, thank you very much. You guys have a great day.